Well, coming into this week, investors were awaiting commentary from Fed Chair Powell and a potential decision from President Trump on whether to take military action in the Middle East. I want to bring in my contributor for the hour, Jeremy Schwartz, WisdomTree Global Chief Investment Officer. Jeremy, good to have you here in studio with us. You say geopolitics are taking center stage in 2025 when it comes to the markets. How does that play into the portfolio rotation that you're conducting right now?
Yeah, the Fed was one of the stories of the week, and we could sort of say it's yesterday's story. There is some drama at the Fed, and you've got Trump really attacking Powell, calling him too late Powell, and there's many things on that we agree that they should be like about 100 basis points lower. So there's an element of we think he's right, but Powell's been stubborn. Now it's interesting today, you've got Chris Waller out saying they could be cutting in July, so maybe he's auditioning for Powell replacement is what's going around social media. But we do think geopolitics is number one story. Tariffs are a big story. All the conflicts, clearly, you see that front and center with the Iran story. We think it's that is one that we think is not a major risk for markets now. We think it's trending in a better direction. The market's sort of comfortable with where it's heading.
Interesting.
But Europe with Ukraine, Russia, is a sort of extended conflict. You've got Asia. That's a potential long-term, maybe a short-term risk.
Sure.
So that is the number one thing we're focused on as we look at portfolios.
What is the risk that the conflict actually disrupts progress on the tariff and trade talk side as well, given the timing of how this is all coming together?
Well, July 9th is his important day, where that's like when tariff deadlines come back around. Now, he's also shown if people are willing to negotiate, they extend. So China has got things pushed back 6 months. They had the UK London summit, and he wanted things on rare earth exports, these magnets that they were sort of prohibiting and restricting from coming here, and they got what they wanted on that to ramp it up, but it was really only a 6-month time frame and that's the hardest of all the trading partners. Everybody has 10% baseline, and China has 30% with this extra fentanyl tariff. That's the hardest one. So if he's willing to pause 6 months for China, if everybody else is negotiating, you could see them extending, but you'll have a lot of headlines until July 9th, and we'll see where it goes.
Is that making it any more clear what this long-term tariff rate might look like, and how are you thinking through that?
Well, I think there's a headline, and I forget where I saw it quoted this week, but somebody saying Europe might be looking to do the same 10% deal that UK did.
Interesting.
And if that's like the baseline, we've said the market's got uncomfortable with 10% baseline, 30% for China. And anything that lowers that is very positive for the market. So it's comfortable with the 10-30 framework. They've been talking about these deals, and Hassett has said, hey, you got 3 deals ready to sign, but nobody's signed a framework agreement again. We thought Japan would be there. We thought Korea, Taiwan. There's a bunch that have been sort of, we thought advanced, and they're still, I guess, getting the final details of what this frameworks will look like.
We were told that they were just 2 weeks away, 2 months ago.
Yes.
And so now with the absence of those deals, how are you seeing businesses posture themselves for some of the uncertainty that could continue to impact how they operate longer term?
Yeah, there's been this long-term trend of manufacturing not being in the U.S. So a lot of it, Trump wants to bring manufacturing back, and there's
but
stories.
That would affect the cost of goods, essentially.
Yeah, and part of what we were saying is that it's sort of inevitable in some ways. Like it's not happening. As much as he wants to bring a lot of stuff back, there's a much longer-term powerful force of just of where things are going. That's not been tariffs or not. It's not going to bring a huge surge, but there are investments coming. You even see this morning, Masa's son was quoted of wanting to build $1 trillion AI robot in Arizona. So there are things of investment coming back to the U.S., and that's all in the right direction. But some of it still doesn't make sense in terms of where it's going to come back to the U.S.